Hello. Purgatory. I'm here to discuss purgatory today, which is a place we could all end up at. Gurdjieff finds it a very important part of his system. What is purgatory? So I'm going to start with All and Everything, page 1164. Only he may enter here who puts himself in the position of the other results of my labours. These were the words that were written over the chief entrance to the holy purgatory, holy planet purgatory, because in Gurdjieff's work, it's a planet where people go in between their lives. What for and why? So he says, in All and Everything, page 744, and we're going to do 745. Why does our common all-embracing, uni-being, autocratic endlessness appear so often on this holy planet on which we have just been? And this is Beelzebub talking with Hussein. And they've just come from the planet Purgatory, which is quite interesting in the book. Not much is said about their time on Purgatory. More is discussed about what Purgatory actually is. So I shall continue about that. This same holy planet is for the whole of our great universe, the heart and place of concentration of all the completing results of the pulsations of everything that functions and exists in the universe. The higher being bodies, who have already merited to dwell on this holy planet, suffer maybe as much as anybody in the whole of our great universe. So in a way, it's a bit of a learning planet. You go there into Purgatory to mull over what you've done with your life and where it's going and what you want to do next with yourself. In view of this, our all-loving, endlessly merciful and absolutely just creator endlessness, having no other possibility of helping these unfortunate higher being bodies with anything, often appears there so that by these appearances of his he may soothe them, if only a little, in their terrible inevitable state of inexpressible anguish. So you're going there in your higher being bodies, which is the show I've done previously about how we're trying to create our higher being bodies so we can develop ourselves and our higher centers can connect with the divine. And so that is how we get to see God, his endlessness, whatever you want to call him, the divine source. We have to have that higher being body. So this planet Purgatory is somewhere where we can go to work on ourselves once we've got that higher being body. Because maybe when you've got that higher being body, you're not perfect. You still need to develop yourself. And that, again, will continue taking effort and a lot of work. I know many of us just want to be perfect, but that's hard. Or as Salvador Dali says, perfection is impossible to attain. We're continuously working on ourselves. We're continuously, throughout all our stages of our lives and our beings and our bodies, whatever we're creating. You know, the only person that doesn't have to work on themselves is the divine source. So Knott says, to suffer in purgatory is to know and understand what we ought to do, and yet not able to do it. But remember, zest with ease, and beware of premature exercises. And he was told this by Oraj. And Knott goes on to say, the beings on the planet Purgatory participate in the divine plan, but suffer because they know what they ought to do, but are as yet unable to. When will, consciousness, and individuality are developed harmoniously and simultaneously, then in the process we are purged and may be released from purgatory. So we're going to purgatory to be purged. It's even in its name. Purgatory, to be the purged. So what is purgatory? You know, it's used in different religions and discussed a lot. And in the, let's say, the Christian world, it's seen as a place of punishment. Normally you go there after death. Well, in Gurdjieff's place, he's saying that the higher beings are going there, higher body beings are going there. So you've developed yourself, you're going there, but you're not quite perfect. You've still got to ponder on your ways. You've still got to develop yourself in some kind of way to be that higher being body. to perfect it so that you can take part in properly in the divine cosmic laws that are going on. So we're being sent to purgatory to work on ourselves, to, well, yeah, ponder on ourselves, to purge ourselves of the sins that we have, that we've created. You know, even with a higher being body, then maybe we're not as perfect as we'd like to be. There's other versions of purgatory, you know, they're talked about in a lot of poetry, and such as Dante's Inferno. I think it's called the Divine Comedy these days. But it's seen as a state in which the souls of those who have died in grace must expiate their sins. And I think this is what Gurdjieff's trying to put across to us. If we're developing ourselves and working on ourselves, then we're making efforts so that when we do die, hopefully with grace or in grace, we can then go to purgatory to continue with our development. So it's a state or place in which the souls of those who have died in a state of grace are believed to undergo a limited amount of suffering to expiate their venial sins and become purified with the remaining effects of mortal sin. So our higher being bodies are being properly cleansed whilst we're in purgatory. Hopefully there's some nice teachers there to help us do it. Or do we have to do it by ourselves? But obviously, as Gurdjieff says in the book, his endlessness, the divine source comes there because he's pleased with you. He's glad that you've developed yourself to such a state. And you just need that little bit more touching up, as they say, a little more tweaking to become perfect. Well, nobody's perfect, as they say. Try to stay as perfect as you can, peoples. So this is seen as an intermediate stage of your soul being developed, going through its path that we shall continue on after we've lived on this green and pleasant land of planet Earth, and hopefully have developed our higher being centers so that when we have died and we go to purgatory, cleanse them, and then carry on with our mission to work for the divine. Now, I found this from Parabola, but I found this through the M.W. Fring's book. He's done a book on Gurdjieff definitions, but this is from Helen Luke in Parabola. I believe it's issue 13, and she says, and she's using Dante's Divine Comedy for this to explain purgatory. There are 3 images in Dante's Divine Comedy which unforgettably symbolize the 3 stages of the journey of every human soul. The Inferno, the dark wood of the lost and unconscious state in which some only choose to stay. In the Paradiso is the white rose, the mandala of the final vision of unity, of the totality of eternity, and rising between them is the mountain of the Purgatory, which has got Purgatorio. Before the poet has made any movement at all to emerge from the dark wood of his fear and despair, he awakens to the acknowledgement of his powerlessness, his loneliness, his self-pity, and dares to look up and out of this absorption in the ego. Immediately there comes to him a glimpse of a great mountain rising into the heavens, and the sun of consciousness is shining upon it. We can emerge from the pains of hell in one way only, by accepting another kind of suffering, the suffering which is purging instead of meaningless damnation. It is a way which will inevitably lead him through the agony whereby the I want, I must have of the ego is transmuted into the love whose center is everywhere. There are no dreams in hell, no dreams in heaven, for both realms are outside time. Purgatory is the way between these 2 states and is symbolic is symbolic of the work we do in the dimension of time. Tick tock, time always getting in the way. So purgatory will be a stepping stone from here to the heavens, to the divine. And it's, if we can get to purgatory, according to Gurdjieff, then we've been working on ourselves and developed them higher being bodies. So thumbs up, peoples. We want to continue on that path and not get caught up in the cycle, as I've said before, and end up back here on this planet, whether it's recurrence or reincarnation. We want to be going upwards and onwards. As Buzz Lightyear says, to infinity and beyond.